Her laughter. That's what I remember most about when we were young. It used to make my heart skip a beat, a melody I couldn't get enough of. But now, it's different. Sharp, hollow, and reckless. It's like a mask she wears, hiding something underneath. Last night, Stella returned home from another one of her business trips. She walked in through the front door, light on her feet, kicking off her heels and tossing her expensive handbag onto the couch. "I'm back," she called out, laughing in that carefree way that used to enchant me. But now, it felt like nails on a chalkboard. Her laughter echoed through the house until she saw it, the framed picture on the dining room table. And just like that, her laughter stopped. It was a photo from our wedding day. I remember how beautiful she looked in her satin gown, how lucky I felt in my black tuxedo. We both looked like we'd won the lottery that day, two people ready to take on the world together. But I had made an addition to the photo. Across the glass, in bold red letters, I'd written two simple words: "I know." She froze in her tracks, her smile fading, her face going pale. For a moment, it was like the air had been sucked out of the room. I stood in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, arms crossed. I'd been waiting for this moment, rehearsing it in my mind over and over. "Stella," I said, my voice calm but firm. "Is there something you'd like to tell me?" She stared at the photo, her mind clearly racing. I could see her trying to figure out how much I knew. "Morris, I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, her voice trembling. I let out a bitter laugh, not one I recognized as my own. "Don't insult my intelligence, Stella." For months, I'd been watching, noticing the cracks. Stories like this, cheating wife stories, always seem so far-fetched until they happen to you. The sudden, urgent business trips, the late-night phone calls, the new perfume she never wore when she was with me. I gestured toward the photo. "You see, I've been patient. I wanted to be sure." I pulled out my phone and swiped to the gallery. And now I am. I held it up for her to see. The first photo was of her and Daniel, her colleague, walking hand in hand along a secluded beach. The next was a picture of them kissing on a hotel balcony. And the third? The two of them laughing over dinner at a restaurant I'd never even heard of. Her eyes widened, her face crumpling. "Morris, I can explain." "Explain?" I snapped, my voice rising with each word. "Explain how you've been sneaking off with Daniel while I've been working late to pay for your yoga retreats and those weekend getaways you conveniently planned." I could see the panic in her eyes as she reached out toward me, hands trembling. "Please, Morris, let me explain. It's not what it seems." I raised a hand, stopping her in her tracks. "Don't. Just don't." For 3 months, I'd been gathering everything. Photos, texts, receipts. I wasn't going to confront her until I was absolutely sure. Now that I was, I'd made my decisions. "Stella," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me, "I've already filed for divorce." She gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "My lawyer has the papers. And before you get any ideas, I suggest you look over the prenuptial agreement you signed. It's ironclad. You'll leave with what you brought into this marriage, which, let's be honest, isn't much." Her face crumpled even more, tears pooling in her eyes. I thought I'd never be part of one of those cheating wife stories, yet here I was, living it. I wasn't done. "Oh, and by the way," I continued, "I had a little chat with Daniel's wife." Her head snapped up, her shock palpable. "She was more than willing to help me out," I said with a bitter smile, even shared a few photos of her own. Stella's mouth opened, but no words came out. She just stood there, stunned, as the weight of what I'd done sank in. I walked over to the drawer, pulled out a thick envelope, and tossed it onto the table in front of her. "Everything's in there," I said. "Texts, photos, receipts, emails, it's all there." Her hands trembled as she reached for the envelope. "And just so we're clear," I added, leaning closer. "If you try to fight me on this divorce, I'll send that straight to your company's HR department. Let's see how they handle two of their top employees having an affair on work trips." She collapsed into a chair, burying her face in her hands as sobs racked her body. "I made a mistake, Morris," she choked out between sobs. "Please, I love you." I laughed, but it was cold and hollow. "Love? You call this love?" I shook my head, the bitterness rising in my chest. "You don't love me, Stella. You love the life I gave you, the stability, the comfort, the safety. But me? No. You threw me away for, what? A cheap thrill?" She sobbed harder, but I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just relief. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. "I'll be staying at a hotel for a few days. The movers will be here by the end of the week to pack your things. You're leaving this house." She looked up at me, her tear-streaked face a mask of despair. "Please, Morris, let's fix this. We can go to therapy or counseling." I shook my head. "Some things, Stella, can't be fixed." I paused at the door, one hand on the handle. "Oh, and I canceled the credit card you used to buy that new purse during your business trip. Good luck explaining that." Without another word, I walked out, ignoring her cries echoing behind me. As I unlocked my car, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, expecting another email or notification, but what I saw stopped me cold. "I know everything too. Daniel isn't the only one with secrets. Let's talk. Anonymous." I stared at the message, my mind racing. Who sent this? How much did they know? What else was there to uncover? Driving away, I felt an odd mix of emotions: rage, betrayal, anguish. But beneath it all, there was relief. For the first time in months, I felt free. But that message, it lingered in my mind. I'd thought I knew the whole truth, but clearly, there was more to this story. As the sun rose the next morning, I sat in my hotel room, staring out the window. The end of my marriage wasn't the end of my life. It was just the beginning of something new. But now, there was a mystery I needed to solve. It was ironic how my life had turned into one of those cheating wife stories you read online.